Hello friends, this is Wigs and Fluff. Today I have information for you on Permatease. What is Permatease and why is it there? Well, Permatease is like permanent teasing. Now I have here the Trendsetter in Glazed Sand by Raquel Welch, and this is an example of it. Don't know if you can really see it, but there are two ways that they do permateasing. One is crimping the hairs down close to the scalp, right way down close. They must use a really small tool because honestly, you really can't see the crimping. It's way down in there. And the other way is sewing little tiny hairs, and I can feel those little tiny hairs. I can feel them. Now, the best way to hide that is with a dark-rooted hair like this, dark-rooted wig like this. You really can't see the Permatease and you really can't see the little hairs coming out, but they're there. I can feel them. Just put my hand right here and I can feel all those little hairs right there. And I can see the crimping. It's down in there, but I can see it if I really look hard. Now, why is it there? Well, the reason it's there is to keep the shape of the wig. If you didn't have Permatease of some sort in there, the wig would be flat and straight. So if that's what you want, you need to go and get for yourself a straight-haired wig, monofilament type, and go with that. But otherwise, learn to love it because it's there for a reason. Now, as the wigs get older, they lose their Permatease. So what you can do is start brushing up your wig from the root, like this. Then you can style it back and it will get some shape back in there. It will get some shape back in there. Another thing you can do is change the part, mess up the part and move it around and move it to the other way. And that will help you as well. Have some shape. So that's the reason it's there, to give the wig some shape. Otherwise it would be flat and lifeless. So that's what I have to say about Permatease. I have the dolly over here, and I can show you on the dolly maybe a little bit better. Although the dolly's about had it, this was one of my first wigs. So she doesn't have as much, and she was a cheap wig. But when I first got her, she was high flying. That's why I called her the dolly, like Dolly Parton. She had some Permatease. And even now, if you back comb it a little bit, get down there to the roots, you can make that Permatease come back and it'll stand up again. Stand right up again. So she's got a little bit of life in her, but mostly, you know, I've got another one on order, really. And she's an older style wig. Anyways, she's got a big old hunk of lace in the front. See all that lace? So she's kind of warm in the summer. She's not as cool as what I would like. So that is what I have to say about Permatease and why we have it. It's for the shape of the wig. So enjoy it. I would say embrace it, get used to it. It's good for the wig. So I have a story for you today, and this is a romantic love story. This is the story of the love between Isaac and Rebecca. Now, Isaac was the son of Sarah and Abraham. If you remember from yesterday, I told you the story of Sarah and Abraham, and she had this baby when she was 90 years old, and she named him Laughter, Isaac. Well, Isaac grew up. He became a man, and Abraham was getting older, and he wanted to procure for his son a wife, as was the custom in those days. That's what they did. So he went and took a servant, a most trusted servant, and he asked him to go to a particular village where there were some people there that were relatives and friends, and look for a wife for Isaac. So the servant got on his donkey and he went to this village. And as he approached the well, he saw a young woman there with a water jug, and it was Rebecca. And she was beautiful. He couldn't get over how stunningly beautiful she really was. So he thought this is probably the best candidate for Isaac. She looked like she was the best wife material. So he went to her father and he talked to him about Abraham and he talked to him about Isaac. And yes, the father remembered Abraham and he remembered Isaac. And he gave his permission for his daughter to marry Isaac, even though he had never laid eyes on him. And Rebecca herself was a godly woman, and she knew that this was God's plan for her. And so she was willing. She put aside her own feelings of being unsure, because I'm sure she had those feelings. Where am I going, and what's this Isaac going to be like? But she trusted God to take care of her. She trusted God's plan for her. And she knew her dad. And she knew her dad would not just sell her to the highest bidder, but that he would choose a really good family for her. And he did. So Rebecca gets on her donkey and she goes with the servant and goes back to where Abraham and Isaac are living. And Isaac gets word that she's coming. And he is so excited. He runs out into the field to greet her. And he takes one look at her. Oh my goodness, she was beautiful. And he fell totally in love with him. And as for Rebecca, she took one look at Isaac and she fell in love with Isaac as well. She loved him too. This is one of the most romantic stories in the Bible of Rebecca and Isaac. After a few years, Rebecca gave birth to twins, Esau and Jacob. Now, Esau was born first, and Jacob was born second. And in those days, whoever was born first got the blessing from the father, which meant land and other goodies that they were given. So Rebecca loved Jacob. Jacob was a homebody. He stayed around the camp. He stayed around the home. He learned to cook. I mean, he loved his mama. He was there with his mom all the time, Rebecca. Esau, on the other hand, was a hunter. And he liked to go out into the woods and catch and hunt animals and catch animals and bring them back and cook them and eat them. So Esau was out on a hunting trip, and Rebecca conspired with her son Jacob to deceive her husband Isaac and to get the blessing for himself. She told him to cook up a beautiful stew because she knew that Jacob could cook. And Jacob did that. He cooked up a beautiful stew. And he told her, she told him that when Esau comes in, you tell him that you'll let him have the stew for his birthright. And she knew that Esau would be hungry. He would be starving when he came in. And sure enough, he comes in there, he smells that wonderful stew and the aroma, and he said, "Oh, brother, give me some of that. I'm starving to death." And the brother says, "Yeah, I can do that if you give me your birthright." Well, Esau was so hungry that he agreed. And he said, "Fine, take the birthright. Just give me some of that stew before I starve to death right here." And so Jacob gave it to him. And he had the birthright. Now, as Isaac got older, Rebecca thought he was dying. He lost his eyesight. And he thought he was dying too, but it turns out he didn't. But Rebecca told Jacob to go get some goat skins and lay them on himself, put them on, and then go into his father and get the blessing. So when Jacob did that, he was wearing goat skins. And his father, being blind, went out there and touched the goat skins and thought it was Esau, because Esau was a hairy man and Jacob was not. So he touched the goat skins and he thought it was Esau, and he gave Jacob the blessing. Well, this started a war between Esau and Jacob. You can imagine how Esau felt. He was robbed of his birthright. Well, this scared Jacob so much he just fled. He ran off, and Esau ran after him. So Rebekah died a broken-hearted woman. She not only lost one son, but she lost them both because of her, in the end, colluding with her favorite Jacob to get the birthright. So that's the story for today. This is Rachel's story, the love story of the Bible, how it started out, love at first sight, and Rachel absolutely trusting God and riding that donkey to meet a groom she had never met. So that's the story. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a story about trusting God and letting God work out the details and not trying to go ahead of him like Rachel did or like Sarah did. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you tomorrow with another story. Bye.